This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket. I am so thrilled to be having today's episode because today's guest is someone that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with in the past and someone who brings deep expertise across healthcare, technology, investing, and finance. Peter Micca is the managing partner at Caduceus Capital Partners. He has spent decades advising healthcare innovators and now leads strategy for organizations developing disruptive technologies and services in healthcare. Peter, long time since we've discussed important topics on the podcast, so it's so great to have you back on.
Great. Same here, Saul. Great to reconnect in today's ecosystem and look forward to health, HLTH, and when we get together.
That's our meetup spot, and I always enjoy chatting with you while there. Look, you're doing a lot of really great things after decades for working at the highest levels at Deloitte and other companies. You've stepped into a new leadership role at Caduceus. What drew you to this next chapter, and how's your work different now?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the time. It's incredibly exciting, very rewarding. Deloitte has been an incredible place to develop people and invest in innovation and technology. I was always drawn to innovation really at the crossroads of healthcare and technology. It's been my passion for a number of years. I'm very grateful to Deloitte that allowed me to do that. Caduceus Capital, I think, is a very unique platform of capital, talent, acceleration, and advisory capabilities and innovation to emerging markets in healthcare and technology. Our view is that the current macroeconomic trends really are not sustainable. And the only real way to bend the cost curve in a very difficult healthcare environment is through innovation and technology. That's a big part of our investment thesis in really capturing and harnessing the power of people who create innovation and new developments that help us create a new future of health.
Yeah, and it's great that you're focused in this space, PE and VCs. We all want to know what's going on in their minds, right? Are the healthcare leaders looking to work with folks like you guys? You've worked closely with private equity and venture-backed companies for years. What are investors most focused on right now when it comes to healthcare innovation?
Yeah, look, investors are always interested in innovation that solves the big issues in healthcare and are not just a Me Too technology, right? Or software, right? I've listened to thousands of pitches in organizations, the ones that do well, the ones that get funded, the ones that accelerate their growth and scale, really are those companies that have a solution to the big issues in healthcare, whether it be access, affordability, the cost structure, social determinants of health. Those organizations that have those solutions and speak the language of healthcare tend to do well. Healthcare is not like a consumer product. There's likely a third-party payer system that helps finance some of the cost of new innovation. And organizations need to understand that. They need to understand how to work with the traditional market incumbents that are in our ecosystem.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those are the big levers. And you alluded to really strategic pressures and also realities. I'd love to just take a little bit of time here to talk about those margin pressures, workforce shortages, rising patient expectations. Like, what do you think is the biggest blind spot right now among healthcare executives trying to balance cost, quality, and innovation?
Yeah, traditional healthcare organizations are under a lot of pressure from a cost and margin and services perspective. The overhang of emerging technologies like AI and innovation make it even more difficult. Healthcare organizations get bombarded with solutions every single day. And a big part of what we want to do at Caduceus is help, in addition to providing capital, helping them think through where to place their bets, how to think about innovation, what is the important parts of not just their client delivery model, but their underlying ecosystem infrastructure and costs that can help them really spend their time on what really matters, which is the patient.
Yeah, and I'd love to just kind of help you showcase this white paper you guys just came up with where you dive into some of those things. Do you care to share an insight or two from it?
Look, there's been a ton of legislation, not just currently, but over the last 5 years, really, since Caduceus has been around, and it has, to a large degree, made things fairly challenging for healthcare organizations. When you look at the budget of the U.S., the vast majority is still really tied up in healthcare. And so if we're going to put a dent into the budget deficits that we have as an organization and lower our interest costs, we really need to do something about healthcare. And you can either A, ration healthcare, or B, use technology to make it more efficient and create better outcomes. I think we all acknowledge we live in a society where rationing care is just not something that's palatable to the U.S. and its participants. And so we believe that focusing on technology, focusing on innovation, and focusing on real solutions that bring services closer to the consumer and empower the consumer in a different way will be increasingly important.
Thanks, Peter. Really appreciate that. And folks, by the way, if you're curious about this report, we're going to link it up in the show notes so you can read the full thing. Definitely a lot of really insightful points in it. One that you should pick up and read. You don't want to miss it. What it boils down to is tech that matters. So Peter, you've seen a lot of innovation theater, as I like to call it, in healthcare. What are one or two areas of real disruption that you're paying close attention to and things that could actually move the needle on cost or care delivery?
Yeah. So it's really interesting, right? Everyone talks about AI. It's just omnipresent. It's impossible to have a conversation without it. And it's important. It's an important tool. But yeah, the reality is every organization in every industry will use new tools and will continue to use new tools. And AI will not be the last tool that's developed in this country, in this global economy. We like emerging technologies around sensors, around robotics, that look at the alignment with patient care. We look at mega trends and the demographics around an aging population. Loneliness is a big part of the outcome structure of an aging demographic. If you look at the blue zones globally that tend to have very high age populations, it's not just diet, it's not just access to healthcare, it's actually the social determinants of health that drive many of those outcomes. And so we like technologies, and we have a few portfolio companies that kind of deal with those social determinants of health and on top of technologies. And so it's not just AI. Everyone talks about AI, and it's extremely important, and it will accelerate the movement towards emerging technologies. We believe that there will be a lot of healthcare providers that will close their doors in rural settings in the U.S. That's just a natural outcome of not being able to invest in emerging technologies. But remote patient monitoring and investments in logistics will help build that bridge for those healthcare organizations that really have a strong balance sheet and can make the investments in innovation that are critical in today's environment.
Yeah, no, I love that. Some really great points there, Peter. And by the way, I love to connect with leaders that talk the talk and walk the walk, most importantly. And I want to congratulate you. I heard you guys had your third exit last week, really positioning the firm to be really in like that top quartile of investment firms. You want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, look, the partners at Caduceus Capital, we believe, have a different perspective. We are not spray and pray investors. We like to get involved in the portfolio companies. We believe we have the background, the innovation, the relationships to help scale companies in a very short period of time because of the touch points that we have in the ecosystem and the extent and breadth of our limited partners in the fund. And I think our track record proves that out. We've had, since the inception, multiple liquidity events for organizations that have gone on to create even more liquidity investment opportunities for either larger funds or strategic buyers, where we take a minority interest on a go-forward basis. And we think that's important. We view ourselves very much as a growth and scale capital organization that helps emerging market participants get scale. We like organizations that have proof of concept, that have a customer base, but just need that go-to-market edge, so to speak, to help scale their organization.
That's great, Peter. Well, congrats on that, and good to have that clear anchor in the market of kind of what you guys are about and how you do it with these growth and scale firms. Look, bonus question here. If you could give one piece of advice for a healthcare founder or operator today, what would it be?
I think it would say what problem you're solving. Really start there, know that cold, know who your customer is, understand the language, of that customer and what's important to them. Don't be a hammer looking for a nail. Really try to understand how your innovation can be adopted to the issues and problems that your customer base has.
Love that, Peter. Great way to close us. Always great having your perspective. Where can listeners go to learn more about you and also Caduceus Capital Partners?
Yeah, Caduceus.vc is our website. You'll see information about our launch accelerator. It's a pretty innovative concept focused just on digital health technology organizations that need an acceleration boost. You'll see our capabilities around talent and go-to-market advisory capabilities on top of the capital stack. And you also get a sense of who our limited partners are, their backgrounds, and how they help us scale the organizations that we invest in.
That's great, Peter. We'll really appreciate that resource. Folks, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Outcomes Rocket today with Peter Micca. In the show notes, as I mentioned, you'll have the report that Peter referenced today, as well as links to the organization's website. Make sure you check him out, check out the company, stay in touch, because this is how you grow. And Peter's one of the best in the business in this space. So definitely excited that he made time to be with us today. So stay in touch, everybody. And Peter, thanks for jumping on the podcast again.
Thank you, Saul. Love what you're doing. Love your platform. Look forward to catching up at HLTH.
Let's do it. See you there.
Take care.
This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945.